What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Brass Ring Media Podcast for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. I am Zach Haydorn, one of your hosts. That's Tyler Sage. He's your other host tonight. Tyler, what is going on, dude?
Hey, a lot. Also, not a lot in WWE.
A lot and not a lot.
Yeah.
Or not a lot good.
Yeah, a lot of news, not a lot of creativity.
Yes. I think that's actually, by the end of the show tonight, I think that will be a strong theme for the entire night. Is like a lot of business, a lot of money, not a lot of great creative at the moment. And I wonder, and my thesis of the night as of right now is that one element, the business, kind of perpetuates some of the ineptitude on the creative side. We'll get into it more later, but that is my thesis for tonight. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks so much for being here and dealing with a crazy week last week with shows kind of popping up at different times. I was on vacation, but Tyler and Robert and Ashley held down the fort along with Dominic. So if you missed content last week, you should go back and check it out because we've got it all there for you. All the shows went off without a hitch, and you can check them out right now up on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. Hello to everybody who's in our live chat. We got our two gold members in there, Adam Kidd and Sean Palikta. Adam says, "Good evening, he says, "Good evening, BRM family," and Sean says, "What is up? Wrestling talk is here." It sure is. Also, hello to Wyatt. Hello to Ezra, who are also in our chat. Adam, it is currently raining on the south side of Chicago. So I don't know when that Detroit game is going to get up and running, but I'm a Sox fan. If it never happens, no skin off my back. No skin off my back. Were you trying to get in there with your?
No, he said he called you Roman Haydorn, so I was.
Oh yeah,
acknowledging.
I could get used to that. I think I can get used to a nickname like that. That sounds good. We're going to talk a lot of WWE today. We're going to talk a lot of WWE business today. One, because very big business news dropped last week with a new ESPN television rights deal. Or not television rights deal, but content deal, I guess. And there's not that much to talk about on the creative end. And we'll
on that note, on the creative end, as we're talking about Roman, do you remember? This is a fun fact for us old heads out here. Do you remember who CM Punk pitched as the third member of the Shield back in the day?
I do remember, yes.
Yeah. So I think for those that don't know, it was Jon Moxley, Seth Rollins, and yes, Cassius Ohno, a.k.a. Chris Hero. So, maybe that's when the alarm bell should have gone off about Punk's creative mind.
Yeah, to say the least.
Just mentioning Roman, it made me triggered that in my brain. So,
I find myself, this is not on the list of things to talk about, but why not? I find myself wondering that type of thing a lot now that you have like this kind of this like Vince McMahon era, and now you have like what is a sizable or becoming to be a sizable non-Vince McMahon era of WWE. And like I am always going, man, like, wow, Rusev, Vince had it right on that one. Or, Aleister Black, like, dang, he had it right on that one. Or we know why, Keith Lee never got pushed and things like that. Like, I find myself answering that question a lot of like, all right, Punk wanted to work with Cassius Ohno. Like, okay, maybe Vince was right to say no on that. Like, and this is not, I'm not, hopefully by now the audience knows I'm not praising Vince McMahon. I'm just saying that when you can look back on it through the lens of him being gone, it's like, well, maybe Punk really didn't have it as far as that goes.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. This is, sorry, totally off topic. I'm trying to think of the timeline on Mercedes. Was that a Vince fumble, or was that right when the Triple H thing happened?
No, that's Vince. That was 2022.
Yeah. Okay.
In the
Like, do you think you would? I'm trying to get anyone that left WWE that's been more successful. I mean, Tony Storm, Mercedes, and Swerve. Am I missing anyone else obvious? Moxley.
I mean, Mox. I don't know. I don't even know if you put Mox on that list because he was a big star for Vince, just not the way he wanted to be. Like, not he was kind of like this goofy character. But I mean, he wrestled Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Like, I mean, he got a good push. I would argue.
Yeah. So just I wonder, like, I guess Swerve was the only like person that Vince didn't touch because he got let go from NXT.
Right.
That's like for this argument of like people like you mentioned enough of them. Also Andrade, you've got Malachi Black.
Right.
I mean, tons of people that were just like, yeah, they were not good and that was a good call by Vince. And like Triple H has fallen into the I can fix them phase as opposed to like cutting them off. So
yeah. Or even like guys like, I mean, I don't know. I hate to just gang up on this guy, but Adam Cole, like,
oh yeah, same thing.
Another thing, like where it's like, you on one hand you're like, man, this guy, how do you miss on this guy? And then it's like, well, real easy.
Yeah, like I'd be curious. Like, I think Vince would know how to use. I can't believe I'm like defending Vince the Booker right now, but I think he would know how to use like Kyle Fletcher, Swerve, Will Ospreay, even like peakish Kenny Omega. Like he'd get the AJ Styles run probably.
Yeah.
And like would lean into the goofiness, which would eliminate him from being like a top tier guy. But he'd probably be like Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville level of stuff. That would be very fun. Is there anyone like Okada he would mess up? We know Vince would mess up Okada. But there's like these guys that are pretty much slammed down. Like Paige is the one guy I don't think he would use Paige well.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think guys are just guys that are going to get over no matter the booker. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We got some good chatter going on about this. Let's see. I want to get to one from Adam Kidd says.
All thanks to Cassius Ohno.
All thanks to Cassius Ohno. Adam Kidd says Chris Hero has surpassed anything Roman. Oh, wait. Sean says Roman just needs to be around more. And Andrew H jumps in with Mercedes sucks. So that's where it begins and ends. Tell us how you really feel, Andrew H. Tell us how you really feel. Well, let's pause. Let's set the table for the show and take care of some business, and then we're going to get into a lot of WWE business discussion, ESPN, TKO, UFC, all sorts of craziness with
that's a crazy deal.
Television licensing and lots of zeros. This is the Brass Ring Media Podcast. We are live with this show twice a week right here on the YouTube channel. So please, if you haven't done so already, hit subscribe so you don't miss our two shows. Usually Tuesday night show is WWE focused and Thursday afternoons is more AEW focused coming out of Dynamite, but we do mix and match where necessary and as the news cycle takes us. So subscribe and turn on your notifications so you know when we're live. We also have other live shows from Robert and from Ashley and from Dominic D'Angelo that hit the channel all throughout the week. So lots of content here. Subscribe so you can check it out. If you prefer to consume this stuff just as audio podcasts, we offer all of our shows here live, or not live, but as audio podcasts just a few minutes after we're done being live here on YouTube, where you can just download them right to your favorite podcast app. So whether that's Apple or Spotify or wherever, we're there. Search Brass Ring Media and you will find us. Also, you can upgrade your Brass Ring Media experience and become a member over on Patreon right now. Patreon.com/Brass Ring Media is how you do that. It's only $4 a month, and $4 gets you access to everything, including the Brass Ring Media Discord community, which is just a great community of great group of people that talk wrestling and life and music and sports and just everything under the sun. You get access to that. You also get all of our pay-per-view and PLE review shows, including last week for SummerSlam. Plus, you get a member-only podcast once a week, specialty podcast from myself and or Tyler, just tackling either extending the conversation we have here on the free shows or just tackling a special subject altogether for members like the G1 or an NXT special, something like that. It's $4. That's it. Give us a go. Patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. Once again, big thank you and big shout out to our gold members, Sean Palikta and Adam Kidd. We appreciate your support. I have the super chats open. They're enabled as of right now. So if you want to ask us a question to get to on tonight's show, or post some kind of rant, or just, contribute to the Brass Ring Media cause, we certainly appreciate it. Any little bit can help us out. And we do appreciate that in advance. Hello to others who've joined the chat, Joshua and Ileana and others. Thank you guys so much for being here. So let's talk a little WWE business, Tyler. The big news coming out of last week, WWE will be moving all of its premium live events to ESPN, the ESPN go-to-market platform. Go ahead.
In the United States.
In the United States, yes. Thank you. Thank you for
and not in my house, but that's beside the point.
I think there's a VPN plug there somewhere.
Yeah. Every wrestling podcast should have a VPN plug.
Yes. Yeah, maybe I gotta start making some cold calls.
I was like, well, this is where I get a VPN. Great.
Yes, thank VPN you. Advertising.
Thank you, Nick Khan.
But they paid a boatload of money. $325 million a year. So it's going to be a $1.1 billion deal when it's all said and done. And all of the WWE premium live events that now stream live on Peacock domestically here in the United States will be on the new ESPN direct-to-customer platform. Now, this comes with all sorts of there's all sorts of caveats and who gets it and who doesn't, and all that craziness. But ESPN owns the rights to WWE PLEs, and they paid about $325 million per year for it. The reports from Dave Meltzer indicate that Peacock was in on the bidding here, but just got outbid by ESPN. So they had at least one other suitor in Peacock. There's a lot of ways that I want to approach talking about this, but first, just your thoughts on ESPN as the partner for this. Does it even really matter? It's news? Yes, but is it that big of a thing, or are you just going to flip on ESPN instead of Peacock and call it a day?
Well, it's a big deal because $30 a month for the service, not like $2.99 or $4.99, whatever the cheapest.
If you're paying for it straight away, yes.
Yeah. What do you mean unless you're using VPN to watch it on Netflix?
Well, no. I think you're going to get, based on my reading of this, if you are getting ESPN through like a cable provider or through I don't know if YouTube TV is included, or through like one of the partnering streaming services, and you're getting ESPN, you will be able to verify through that to get access to the streaming.
Well, so that's a huge difference in what I thought. I thought you had to get the $30 a month, like
ESPN. You don't have, or I mean, not everybody has to. Some people will already just have this outright.
Okay. Well, that's a huge difference then.
Yes.
So, changes my opinion on that of like the barrier to entry, because I'm going to do the UFC example, right? Like, has UFC become more popular in the last 5 years, or has it been like flat or like slightly less popular?
I would say it's been slightly less popular.
Yeah, and that's also has to do with like no stars in your company. Like I mean, I probably watched the UFC. What are we on, like 300 something?
Oh, yeah, bigger than that. Like I think we're in like the 320s, aren't we?
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I probably watched a UFC fight since like 265 or something. Like, when did he fight Cowboy McGregor? That might be the last time I watched him.
Yeah. That's 2019.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably been, so just for me personally, anyway, that's not like everybody, but that like needing to pay the whatever monthly fee plus then $80 for those shows is crazy. So I'm glad we're not on that model, from what it sounds like. And Adam is confirming that in the chat. Sean confirming in the chat as well. Yeah. So I think, you're probably going to get, are we going to get Stephen A. Smith on First Take talking about Roman Reigns, like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think they're going to get much more like ESPN content out of this. So it's probably like a net positives, just slightly. It would be my take on this. But I mean, do you remember what the Peacock deal was? Was it $200 a year?
275.
Yeah, so it's a 50 increase. I mean, that's crazy because there's 12 a year. It's $27 million per PLE.
Yeah,
which is crazy. So I mean, the cash is good. It's relatively easily acceptable for people to find them. So yeah, I mean, a net positive. Obviously, with the not counting the money, with the money, it's a slam dunk deal for the company. But knowing that, like, I thought you had to pay $30 a month. I was about to rip this apart. That's what I was like, I'll get
some people do. Like, if you're just and again, I don't know if YouTube TV is included in that. I know you can get ESPN on YouTube TV, but I don't know if that's a partnering streaming platform with whatever this direct to consumer app is for ESPN that they're rolling out. But I mean, I'm with you. I think it's a net positive because of the money, really. But other than that, like, I think, yes, some people may have to decide to throw out fork over $30 a month for to get this if you don't already have it another way. And that will be a barrier to entry for some without question. But it's $325 million a year for, like you said, for what amounts to essentially 14 PLEs, 14 nights with 2-night SummerSlam and a 2-night WrestleMania, right?
I'd say 20 nights, but
20 nights?
Okay.
Survivor
Series, Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and it's also you got to throw in there's NXT events in there. Not that really matters, but they're going to get those also, so that'll be on there too. So yeah, okay. So it's more than. And 40.
It's like AAA. It's like Triple Mania. I'm going to be on ESPN. I'm sure it will, right?
I would assume it's on. It's on YouTube on Saturday, but I don't know what will happen to that type of stuff. What's going to happen to that once this deal starts up. So it's interesting. Let's go. I want to go to some chat comments here. Andrew H says, I hope not. Stephen A. Smith is a real SHIT bag and needs to keep the tribal chief's name out of his mouth. Adam Kidd says it was said on SportsCenter that SportsCenter will be live from the sites of major PLEs. So that's interesting. And Sean Blick confirmed, I'm a Comcast subscriber now, but not sure for how much longer. They charge so much freaking money. Well, I don't know if they're going to be charging any less now, Sean, with this deal. Here's the thing. Are you surprised that Netflix, being the home for these exact same events internationally, is not and was not apparently in the mix for these? Because it would seem to me that that's an obvious play. Like, if you're Netflix and yes, I'm connecting some dots here, but if you're Netflix and you're happy with your partnership and you're rolling, and why would you not want the same exact events from one of the biggest markets that you have in the domestically in the United States? Am I reading too much into that, or is it just, hey, we have enough and that's it? I guess my point here is, can you read into maybe the state of the WWE and Netflix relationship by the sheer fact that they are not going to have these shows domestically on their platform, and somebody like ESPN will?
Well, what's the key metric for Netflix to their shareholders?
Subscribers.
Yeah, minutes watched, probably.
Or minutes watched.
So, and subscribers. I would say, with the deal, if I'm that Netflix exec, if I'm Steve Sarandos, I think I have that correct.
Yeah.
I have Raw for 20 years because it's going to be such a sweetheart deal for when I do the 10-year add-on, which is we talked about that when it first happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have that. So presumably from what my wrestling guy in the C-suite is telling me, like a wrestling fan's going to subscribe to Netflix to watch Raw. So I don't need this other thing to lock them in. I already have them. They're already going to watch 2 hours a week. Also, from a minutes watch standpoint, they essentially got international rights to every show for it's a tortilla. It's a tortilla blanket. Thank you very much. It's a circle. For Adam Kidd in the chat. I
can't unsee it now. Adam says you're all out. I got to pause because we pause. Adam says, did Tyler take a blowtorch to the blanket on the couch? So if you're listening to this as a podcast, you can't see it, but it does look that way. But really, it is a tortilla blanket. Look at that. God dang, that's amazing. It's one pretty blanket.
I did a magic trick for the viewers too. So, but you got basically for an add-on. That's how I read it when it happened. You get all this international coverage of the PLEs, which is only growing, right? If you're growing your audience, if you're WWE, it's outside the United States. So he basically has that as part of the deal of like free minutes watched, free subscribers, etc. already. So there's no reason to pay that kind of money for essentially no gain if I'm an exec at Netflix.
Okay, that's good. That's a good. I think that's a good argument. Devil's advocate, like, don't your minutes watched just go through the roof on some of these things though? Like, isn't that like, if you're not getting the type of viewership you want on Raw for Netflix, let's say, and I think that it's collectively a little bit of disappointment, the number that you're getting. Don't you want like the key events that are going to net you all the watch hours?
Yeah, I'd say it's a good counterpoint. One side thing is like, this deal? How long is this deal?
This deal is 5 years, I believe. I think 5 years.
So it puts 2030, which is interesting. There's a couple like key dates coming up here. Like there's definitely some NFL openings, I think in 28 or 29.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the Big Ten and a lot of other college football like conferences are up around 2030-ish. So to me, it might be like saving money for the pot to get more premium live events in sporting. And that's that sort of stuff. Or you make a play for baseball if you really care, I guess, for Netflix. It feels to me like that was the play to counter your point there, is like keep $350 million a year in the pot for, to pay for 10% of a NFL deal when that happens.
Yeah, and I think they've also been pursuing the rights for Formula One also.
Yeah.
So obviously that will cost a pretty penny as well. But yeah, it's a good point. So let's take it now from this angle. You've got a WWE right now that I would argue is spreading itself dangerously thin in multiple ways. Like, not only are you producing essentially like 3 television shows every single week, including NXT, but then you've got Saturday Night's Main Event, and you have NXT PLEs, and you have Saudi Arabia that you have to service them with a couple shows, and
2-night PLE events.
Say it again.
2-night PLE events.
Yeah, you have 2-night PLE events now. I mean, you're just spreading yourself thin, and because you're getting like all this money like upfront from ESPN. You're getting this deal. You're getting this money whether nobody watches this paper. Oh, I'm sure there's some like out clauses for like catastrophically bad performance, but realistically, they're going to get this 1.1 billion regardless of how the product is. And it's not like we're like, that's not a new world for WWE. We've been in that world for a while. Even WWE Network, they're trying to sell subs, yes, but it's $9 a month and blah blah blah. Like, but for the last 5 years, we've been in this same world, but it's intensified. And when I hear like Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro, who are the two, top executives of TKO Group, talk about WWE. Like, it feels like they have this thing and they are squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And then they're going to try to sell this squeezing, this juice that they've squeezed out of this into as many places as it can go, right? To make a bunch of money. And I think what you're starting to see with the product is a lack of like coherent and therefore creative television, because it's so splintered, because it has to go so many different ways. It's got to serve social, and it's got to serve online, and it's got to be something that you can you can only run so many big matches every year, right? And so how do you do 3 matches but have them not really count so that you can do another big one down the road at like a different thing and at a different event? And that's where you're seeing all sorts of like non-finishes and DQs and all sorts of craziness in that regard. And I get the sense that like you have a leadership group of WWE right now that are like, there are people that are just like, we need content and we're going to squeeze WWE for all it's worth, for all of the content that we possibly can get. Creativity be damned. And I think like in an other world within WWE, you did, for Vince McMahon with all his flaws, like was a wrestling promoter at heart. I think there was more of the understanding of what a pro wrestling promotion and company is than like just an avenue to suck content out of. When you hear like Ari Emanuel talk about all the minutes watched and the narrative and the the content generation and all this and all these like corporate buzzwords on content, it's like, man, they don't view this as a pro wrestling promotion. They view this as just a product that they can market, that they can squeeze, and that they can sell for lots of money. And I wonder if we're starting to see the impact of that mindset seeping its way into the actual creative of WWE that rewards kind of moments that can flash on social media instead of good storylines with characters that are fleshed out that people actually care about. Take that whichever way you want, but that seeing stuff like this and all the masters WWE is going to have to serve with their product, it's like, and it just grows and grows by the year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this looked like the Collision moment for WWE. Where Collision happened, universally, it's like, this is a bad idea. What are we doing? This is, Rampage was already a bad idea, and then you add Collision on top, and that's what this feels like from everything you just laid out there for WWE. It just feels like there's almost no doubt in my mind that like a year and a half from now, when the company's on like probably a fairly steep like financial decline, and by steep I mean like they're probably getting 7,000 people at Raw, not 16,000, right. And the viewership is down across the board year over year, and you're not doing record gates at PLEs, and you're having buy one get one free on some of these 2-night PLEs, or you're buying one ticket for the event. Stuff like that starts to get you like, well, hey, the creative's not too great, but the company is strong, so I think it's like a superior company. This feels like the moment of this deal being announced that you can go into like, okay, we're in a creative slump. We're probably going to get to a financial slump relative to prior times from a daily and weekly metric standpoint, not like a cash flow coming in standpoint. That's pretty standard now for them. So more of a vibes feel of like where AEW had to dig itself out of the ground, and now is like on that creative front, and now Collision feels like not a hindrance. It feels like at least neutral for the company. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's like, the companies ebb and flow at different rates, and I think it's good if you're Tony Khan, because I think like this is only going to create more creative lag. And I mean, last night's Raw. I don't know when we're going to talk about that. You know how many weeks in a row there's been a DQ finish in the main event of Raw?
10?
That's 4 in a row. But
I'm being obnoxious with that answer. It feels like 10.
Yeah.
Before is enough.
Also for Andrew, I would agree. I would argue that SmackDown feels like Thunder as well. I mean, when's the last time anything on SmackDown mattered?
I would actually argue that. I mean, Thunder is on a whole nother level, you guys.
Yeah. I think Collision. It's if you had to rank like the shows consistently. I don't know this year. I'd probably put Raw first, Dynamite second, SmackDown third, and Collision fourth, without NXT being in the equation there. But I think Collision and SmackDown are pretty close.
Yeah, so I mean they're both way better than Thunder. I mean Thunder was an abomination. I mean I gotta call that out. Sean says here, I can't disagree. Non-finishes and triple threats and four ways aren't helping either. WWE is better than AEW, but man, it's way out of control. The idea of triple threats, four ways, and non-finishes, like that plays right into kind of what I'm trying to get at here. Is like right now, if you were a WWE company that's living and breathing off good, like the product had to be good because that was going to determine, pay-per-view buy rates or, putting butts in seats, that kind of thing. If you were if that's all that you were working to grow, the match that you'd go to right now is Seth Rollins against CM Punk. You just had this huge angle at SummerSlam. CM Punk wins the world title, and Seth Rollins cashes in, and he swipes the title or the championship from Punk. Like that's your big angle. And instead of like going to that match, you go to a fatal four-way. Because why? Well, because you have Clash in Paris, and you don't really want to do that big of a match on that PLE. So you wait, and maybe it's not even the next one because you need to fill a stadium for Survivor Series this year. So maybe you do it there. It's like you have to fill time within all of these shows to hold some of your big matches because you can't do big matches all the time. And so to me, that's why you're getting the four ways. That's why you're getting the triple threats. That's why you're getting non-finishes. Because if they do a non-finish on last night's Raw, you know that there's a 6-man tag coming. Punk, Jay, and LA Knight against the Vision, right? That's coming, whether it's next week or the fall. But like you have to do the non-finish so that you can get to that like extra piece of content, right? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, people aren't going to care. It might not be this year or the next year, but people will stop caring about your matches if they continue to not matter. And Andrew H says here in the chat here, says, I think you're underestimating the marketing machine of the WWE and more importantly, TKO. So Andrew, if you could, and if you're willing, expand on that, because to me, like that's why I don't know that I'm underestimating it. I'm just kind of like putting a pin in it that it's like WWE is going to be around. I'm not saying the company is going to crash. They will be here for a very, very long time, despite these issues, because the marketing is so good, because the brand is so strong. I mean, that is undeniable. But will the product be good? Will it be a good product for fans? That is where I start to go, I don't know. You just don't know when there's this much of it that has to come out. Go ahead, Tyler.
So you can't market 5 years from now, everybody being 45 years old. That matters besides Braun Breaker. So that's like a huge issue that I think is under thought about, maybe not at the WWE level, but even so, like, kind of at the WWE level. Because, like, besides Braun Breaker, I mean, literally, who's your youngest guy that you rely on?
I don't even know how young Jacob Fatu is, but
he's 33. I think we looked this up before.
So that's not that young.
Yeah, and then like everyone else, like literally name anyone else, they're 38 or older. That you see consistently on your television. So like that, you don't want a bunch of 47-year-old CM Punk type bodies rolling around there. You see what happened to AJ Styles. Like he lasted forever. So it's just one of those things that no matter how much you market it, and not to say they've been to those sort of phases before too, where you have your next set of guys. It is WWE market them. And that would be the counter argument, right? Is that you can throw literally anybody. You can throw Lexus King, and you can make him a upper mid-carder if you push him hard enough, is the theory of WWE. And the way the quality of their matches are, maybe you could, because he fits perfectly with an LA Knight in level of match quality. So, I mean, I guess that's a burn on LA Knight, but
yes, that is an ultimate LA Knight burn. If you get compared to Lexus King on the show, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, LA Knight is way better than Lexus King in the ring, is what I'm trying to say. But, you know, that's the thing about, like, not caring. That's why I raised my hand while you were talking, not to get in, but to be like, yeah, I don't, like, I'm being conditioned as a viewer to just, like, literally not care about the main event overall until they change that. But, like, just in general, like, what's the last WWE paper PLE main event that you cared about what was happening in the ring? You're either waiting for how they're gonna how the heel's gonna screw over the babyface, or how the babyface is gonna overcome the cheating, or you're waiting for whatever's gonna happen post match. There's just, like, no match I can think of in recent history where it's like, I'm not waiting for the turn or whatever. It's like, that's, like, great, but there's no, like, wrestling match that matters. There's no, I mean, and I know they're different companies, but I mean, literally, even, like, worse Cena, at least it was like him winning the match and that was the story, right? Like, that was the wrestling story. Ever since, yeah, I guess Mania 40.
Mania 40. That was the example that Andre
a year and a half ago. Great. Also, people hated it at the time. So, right? Am I having my math right? Is that Cody winning? Is that the story?
Yeah, that's Cody winning.
Oh, no. That's the worst example for both of you.
That's a good example.
Is all the shenanigans and tomfoolery in the match and everyone coming in and doing Avenger style. That's the opposite of what I'm talking about.
Hold on. I think that the execution of it on that night, you can debate that. But I think on that night, people were invested in seeing Cody win the world title from Roman Reigns. Now, I don't think they did it. I mean, I like that better than you, but I also was in the building, so it's a different thing. But I think that people were invested in that story. Now, but maybe it didn't pay off the way it should have been. But
yeah, maybe I laid this out incorrectly. People care about the story, but there has not been, like, a straight up bell to bell. Here's a match, a winner and a loser, without any BS shenanigans, etc. And now every match since that, those two stories, 39 and 40, every WWE pay-per-view main event has to have some element of that, where that's all you care about as the audience there. That's why nobody cares in those arenas for the first 22 minutes of a 25-minute match, because they're all conditioned to know, like, this is BS in an exhibition. I mean, we know it's fake, but it's wrestling. But, like, no one's invested in the move-to-move aspect of it, which I don't know who I sound like you talking about the psychology of the match here, but, like, that is totally non-existent. Like, literally, if you watch a WWE PLE, it's my biggest issue with WWE currently. If you don't watch it live and you know there's 5 matches, all you have to do is, like, you can assume how long these matches are. If I think it's going to be a 20-minute match, I'm going to fast forward 15 minutes. You don't miss a thing. It's completely and utterly worthless. It's all about the last 5 minutes. And it's every match and every story is built that way. It's just homogenous synergy of, like, this is what worked one time, so now we're going to reproduce it for infinity. And it just is not appealing to me currently at this time. And that's my biggest critique of the company, creatively.
So let me ask you this, and I agree with you, by the way. Like, I think it's a big critique. The matches don't matter, and I think you can tell that not just because of the not just because of, like, the match quality, but just because, like, you've got the audience willingly cheering heels. You got the audience giving heels babyface pops, on the regular. See Seth Rollins, see Braun Breaker, for that. But I'll throw this at you just because it's going on right now. Mm-hmm. Like, would you argue that the G1 is different? Like, couldn't you just fire up? Couldn't you say that about? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, devil's advocate. Couldn't you say that about any wrestling match? Just fire up the last 2 minutes. That's the most exciting. Like an NBA game. Like that's the most exciting part of an NBA basketball game, anyway. So just fast forward.
No, I mean, I think most wrestling matches, yes, you would qualify for that. Like, I think that's the difference between, like, to me, AEW, right, as the opposite example, TV. So Dynamite's collisions feel like regular season NBA, NHL games, where you could just go to the end and watch like the last 2 minutes and you get the gist. But the oh my gosh, the pay-per-views are like the playoffs, where you are more invested in watching the entire game. Yeah. And with WWE, besides those moments, it feels more regular season to me. It feels very much like, again, homogenous of like, I know what this content is, and like, yeah, there probably won't be a DQ finish in a pay-per-view, but I know there's going to be like, I'm here for the interference, for the tomfoolery, to see like, I'm going to see how Seth Rollins is going to, CM Punk's going to hit a GTS on LA Knight, and then Seth Rollins is going to push CM Punk out of the ring and hit a stomp on LA Knight, and that's the end, or a stomp on Punk and then pin LA Knight after he's got GTS. Like, that's what people are watching that match for. To see like how Braun Breaker gets in there and spears somebody, not about Jey Uso and LA Knight and CM Punk and Seth Rollins and their story with each other and having a wrestling match and like actually believing the near falls until somebody interferes. It's just like anything. It's like watching a War Games match where there's no one that can win. So, which is fine every so often, but when I know as a viewer, and I think you would agree that most wrestling fans are pretty intelligent and the pattern recognition is strong in wrestling fans. And it is just an issue for me that every single match dictates that way. For me currently in WWE. I mean, we can go through each. I see that Andrew disagrees, which I love. I think you go through most pay-per-view PLE matches in the last 2 years, and I'm going to be pretty correct in this. So
I think you would be, and look, I think both those things can be right. You could watch one of those matches and go, like, for example, Io Sky and Rhea Ripley at Evolution, great match, but like, was it? It didn't have a finish. It had the cash in, so it's like, great match, had fun watching it, but like that match, for as great as it was, still conditions you that isn't good enough. That's not good enough. Right? You have to have this other thing that layers on top of it in order for it to be memorable, or a moment where it could have just been, Rhea Ripley wins or Io Sky wins. And that's that. That winning that world championship can be, a big enough moment. But I think that there's, because you're kind of trapped by licensing deals like this one, you got to think, like, we need something else. We need something else. We need a hook. And I think there's kind of like a fundamental like misunderstanding of kind of where those big moments come from. They used to just be massive title wins, right? Not like random cash-ins that have like very, very short shelf lives. You get what I don't know. I'm not saying that great, but
no, you're right. And to compare, like, as Andrew,
let me pull up Andrew. Andrew says here, it's not that I disagree. He just says you could overlay that same commentary on the AEW product, but then you tell us why it's so much better, it being AEW. Do we do this, Tyler?
No, I mean, it's a fair critique, I think. I think it depends on what you do, right? Like, every John Moxley match is this way too. And for the most part, I've either like hated it or have been pretty neutral on it, because it is just essentially mirroring the bloodline thing. And then the comment previous about the G1, yeah, the G1 sucks this year. So I don't know if I'm just like bitter about wrestling in general creatively at this moment, but for sure, there's a lot of that there. I mean, I think there's moments in like, what's the worst stuff in AEW? I think it fits into this boat.
Yes.
Like, the worst stuff currently in AEW is the Cope stuff, I think, without a doubt. And this is just like exactly everything I hate about what I just laid out. Like, I could care less about what's going on with Cope and Christian and the FTR. And it's just always like, oh, there's going to be a ref bump, et cetera. Like, just when every match is like, hey, we have to have these like extra little gimmicks because we know it's not good enough. That's really the heart of it for me, is that it feels like there's not enough confidence in like characters and the actual wrestling, and it's like a collective thing for the most part. I think if you had another Fletcher Osprey match or something, or a Swerve Kyle Fletcher match, or like Swerve and Okada, like hopefully there's not a ref bump in that Swerve Okada match. I'm like am hesitant because I don't think they work well together, but I think that could be pretty much a wrestling match where you care and you like believe some of the false finishes, etc. So that's more like classic wrestling, and I think a show is good when it's all over the place, and you have some ref bumps, and you have some non DQ finishes, but like when the entire like Raw, like this Raw to me felt really no different than the last 2 months of Raw. Same critique for Dynamite. Dynamite feels very samey ever since after All Out. And I just think that's, to me in general, it does feel like, I don't know what it is, but maybe you need like a 96 moment to come up here soon in pro wrestling with how old all the stars are. It does feel like we need to like have another era, because it does feel like essentially like from a big 30,000 foot view. I don't know how you feel about this, Zach. Maybe this is a book idea for me, but like you have the golden age, and then you have like the 80s / to like the mid 90s as like two different eras. Now we've been in the same era since 96 to present. Like wrestling's been booked very similar since like the Hogan turn, in my opinion. With like the realism and having real names, etc. I mean, there's obviously nuance in that. Maybe I'm just like hit a wall personally on a lot of this stuff, and it's not as effective for me.
I mean, I think I think that's fair. I don't think necessarily everybody will look at it that way. I mean, clearly not. Like there's a lot of fans out there that would not see it that way, but I do for both companies. I think we've fairly discussed both companies from the perspective of you have to create a product that people care, where there's a meaning behind the result. And for a long time, we were on AEW they throw out these matches that just have no meaning behind them. They don't. They're good matches. They're really good dance numbers, is what they are. They're good moves. They're flippy. They're cool, but there wasn't a real investment in seeing one person win over the other. I think they've turned a corner on that at the top of the card, especially with Adam Page and Tony Storm. They've turned that corner, but it took them a long time to turn that. And I think what's made WWE so successful in the last 3 years is that they've had that right. They've had Roman Reigns at the top. They've had people chasing him. They had a really long title reign that they didn't give up on or didn't sacrifice for whimsical, short-term hot baby faces like, a Cesaro or even like a Kevin Owens, right? They held on to that piece of equity and cashed it in on Cody Rhodes when they knew they had their next guy. And there was a whole story about that. Like that is what they were succeeding when they were kind of striking while the iron is hot with that tried and true formula. And I think, since that crowning moment that Cody Rhodes had, it's like there's been a emphasis on the wrong stuff, where it's like, boy, that moment was cool with him. We got to create more moments. Well, it's like, that moment was really cool because you put in a lot of work to get to that point. Roman Reigns is a key figure in that. Same thing with Cody. Like, it doesn't just happen. You don't just snap your fingers and you can create moments that are kind of there, but they're fleeting. And I just keep going back to this deal because I think deals like this, great for the company business-wise, of course, because it's so lucrative, but it kind of rewards creative for the wrong thing, because it's just like, we got to get to the next thing, the next event, the next PLE, the next show, the next Saturday Night's Main Event, the next Saudi thing, the next 2-night SummerSlam. And it just, it puts an emphasis on just getting to the next thing, logic be damned, rather than let's make this really good that people will invest in. We just got to go get to the next. And I don't know. I don't know yet what the long-term impact of that type of thinking will be because, well, let me ask you this. Triple H knows how to book a pro wrestling show the right way. We've seen it in roster. We've seen it, since he took control of Raw and SmackDown. We certainly saw it in kind of the heyday of NXT, like where he just had this 3-4 years of just a great product down there. Is he lost here, or is he just a victim of what I'm talking about in terms of like, well, something has to get sacrificed because we only have so many hours in a day. So we just can't produce the product that we want to produce because there's so many hands to feed.
Yeah. Here's my take without any really inside information. Feels like Triple H is like tired. He's like exhausted, or like, when you're like a job, we've all been there, where it's like you're kind of given like 62% to get by.
Yep.
It feels like, and by that I mean like there's other things that he's responsible for. It feels like the focus, just like as a corporation, is all these other things that we're discussing, but not the creative and the in-ring product. Because there's no doubt about it. Like his version of NXT is literally my favorite wrestling promotion of the century, probably.
Yeah.
Just like consistently all those takeovers. And it's incredible like run of shows. Probably that and the peak Ring of Honor are the two things you could point to this century of like really being the most important stuff for the industry. So we know he's there. Also, the TV kind of sucked always for NXT, that no one really wants to talk about. So
I remember those days in the NXT Black and Gold where it was like, oh crap, there's a takeover special coming. I got to like bang out all these episodes of NXT television. Yeah.
Oh no, someone's in a parking lot. That's not good.
Tyler has been spying on me at work. I love that.
I don't know what that means.
Get your work up to 80%, Adam. Come on.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, now I know what it means. Thank you for the reference. So yeah, it's just that's what it feels like to me. Of like, hey, like, just like as a doctrine, like getting all these, like being the focal point, being like the leader, being the Dana White of WWE is more Triple H's job than the creative of it, and that's like what it feels like. He's a good booker, but you can just tell like he probably also would be like, yeah, I know it kind of sucks, but like I'm trying to make like WrestleMania good this year. So like I'll give you really good matches for that and stick with me for the rest of it. Like for the weekly TV, like he probably cares as much as I do about the weekly TV, if I had to guess. So wouldn't you want like passion in your job, right? When you lose that passion, you do see like the results, and sometimes you ebb and flow too. Yeah, but that's just what it feels like to me. It's just like a human who is burned out is what it feels like.
Yeah. And I mean, and look, it's going to sound mean, but like I can sympathize with that's an issue, like I can sympathize with that. But then you got to bring in some people that like can help, like I don't think like it doesn't seem to me that TKO is going to stop squeezing WWE for all it's worth anytime soon. Like there's just going to be more stuff for them to produce. Like now you've got this WWE Unreal show, which we're going to review for members some point here really soon. Like that's around. Like it's just going to be more and more and more and more and more. And so it's like, so I get it. You're burnt out, but like it's kind of on him to do something about that. As mean and as cold as that sounds, and even though I can sympathize.
You can't run it. It's the ego thing of being the guy after the guy too. Like he wants to be like, not miss a day, be Vince when Vince isn't there. Like that's a huge part of this, right? And be better than Vince, right? Like Triple H's ego is, I mean, world class.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to describe it.
So like that doesn't help when like really he should be like, all right, I'm focused on the stories of these 12 guys, these 8 women. I'm like the final say on all of them. El Grande Americano, Aleister Black, That's for anybody else. I don't care who you want to put in that's Bruce's job all day. And like everything tag team is Michael Hayes' job. Whatever you want to do, right? Like that's what you got to do. And then when you're on 1,000 board meeting calls and like, okay, yeah, we're getting, hey, Paul, can we hop on for 2 hours? The Belgian government wants the tax credit. They don't have the tax credit for this Raw coming down. Like that's all the stuff he's dealing with for real.
Yeah.
And like yeah, be like, I don't know, we need some yeeting in Paris. Just get Jay in the main event somehow. Like that's what's happening. So you need to balance that, and like even Vince, like this would be a lot for Vince at like 60-year-old Vince. So like there's part of that too of like Vince was doing 4 hours in the peak, 4 hours of television, and then a monthly pay-per-view that was 3 hours long. So like that's easier to maintain in a circle than what this is.
I think that's well said. And also Andrew H says here, I also have to be honest that every booker hits a wall. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you may get around the wall and you can hit another one. I mean, Vince saw that multiple times in his career. Sometimes you get out from the wall just on accident, i.e. Steve Austin. Like it just can happen sometimes.
Sometimes you Brock Lesnar spear somebody through the wall. Oh, wait, hold on. I don't think it's going to happen here. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's all the time.
Can't wait for that to come back.
Yeah. Speaking of, the last angle on this that I wanted to take is the return of Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. We saw him come back. It's been a couple years. Obviously, perception of him amongst a lot of fans has changed based on what has been alleged that happened with him and Vince McMahon. It's important to note that Brock Lesnar is not a plaintiff in this. He is not, being sued by Janelle Grant. Vince McMahon is. That's reality. So he's not on trial for anything. But it doesn't make some of the things that he's accused of not gross and disgusting and downright, just awful. But I bring this up in conjunction with WWE business because like UFC, WWE is just, they're collecting checks and they need to fill content and they need to serve a lot of masters and they need, I would say it's more important for them now to have just stars that they can do that with. Can you get a Unreal episode out of Brock Lesnar? Can you produce something for A&E, about him and his career? Like, can we do something on social media? Can we drop a YouTube? Like, there's so like, what can we milk out of Brock Lesnar? Because we know that he's not a needle mover necessarily with like ratings. He's not going to increase your ratings 30% every time he's on TV. He doesn't have that value, but he gets paid a lot of money, and WWE can't afford right now because they have to produce so much content and because they have to serve so many masters. Like they need all the like surprises, right? And shocking moments that they can with the return of Brock Lesnar. So I think they're almost forced to like, all right, we'll take Brock back because we need to go somewhere with this, and we need a big moment for SummerSlam, and we don't think Cody winning the title back is big enough for some reason. So we'll just do this Brock thing, even though we don't really need him back, and Brock Cena isn't really that big of a match, but we'll just do it because we got to do it, and that's it. And like I think that you end up talking yourself into something like that, and you also are not accountable for the results because you're getting paid whether or not Brock, whether or not he delivers on television or not.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I don't really have much to add to the Brock Lesnar thing. I mean, we've always been pretty aligned on this aspect of it and like the diminishing returns. I do think it's like for that reason there, just to get the surprise. Yeah. And just have like marquee matches on paper that like, Brock and Cena on paper in a vacuum for Michael Cole to hype. You can convince yourself that that's like a big match for a PLE. But I think that's like again another key difference of AEW and WWE currently, and what I'm talking about of like that whole match is now like that's what you remember.
Right.
That's how WWE structures things. Imagine, and this is like such apples and I don't know, ham sandwiches comparison here. But like, what if Hangman beat Moxley? And like the closest equivalent in AEW, because it's such a young company, would be like, what if Chris Jericho's music hit? And he came out and like challenged Page because he beat Page the first Double or Nothing. And that's like, oh my God, they're going at it again. We would crap all over that. It'd be horrible. It would ruin that moment. And but yeah, that's I think the biggest difference between the two companies currently of like some things do respect you as a wrestling fan to let it sit. And WWE is just like, hey, we know that sucked. Cena's a babyface now. Please enjoy Logan Paul and John Cena. And then also here's Brock Lesnar. So I don't know. It's just
no. Yep. I think you're right. Sean says here they just didn't need Brock back. His matches are just all the same. And I'm not thrilled about Brock Cena in 2025. Adam Kidd says, I'll be watching WWE instead of AEW All Out. We'll get to that in a second. And Andrew H has an interesting comment here. It says, Lesnar also has a rocky relationship with UFC. Clearly they disagree with you, Haydorn, about Brock being a draw. Well, I want to make sure that my argument is right or is read properly. Like, I'm not saying I think Brock has value to the company in the ways that I was just describing, in terms of like being a mine of content that WWE can go in and utilize because they have him. So they can put him on PLEs. They got him for big moments. He's going to drive social media numbers. He's going to be big star on the marquee, right? But they also know what I know, which is that he's not a needle mover as far as how many people watch the product on a week-to-week basis. Like that's just as indisputable as the reality that I just lined out. So I'm like, my point in saying that is like he has value in a different way in that, and really every star does. No star has proven to be a regular like needle mover for WWE in a significant way. Like, sure, maybe 5, 6, 7% from Roman Reigns, or maybe even 5, 6, 7 for Brock here and there. But like Goldberg, not really. Punk, not really. Mercedes Moné and AEW, not really. MJF, not like nobody is. So how are they valuable in a different way? And that's where I think Brock Lesnar actually has more value to WWE today in this environment than he would in like an ordinary space, because he's not a draw in a true sense. I mean, 7% in the ratings world, that's a rounding error. I mean, really, when you look at it, how ratings are calculated, like it really is. It's not. I would not say that it's a big number, yes, but it's also a rounding error in terms of how they measure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
SmackDown back 7% increase.
No, I just used it as an example of like if Brock is a 7% boost on ratings, like that's not bad, but it's not. There's just no regular trend that you can trust that shows that he's huge in like pulling in new viewers for your company.
Yeah, and like the one thing about Brock is like, WWE, if you're TKO, is more like 4-quadrant-y. You know what I mean by 4-quadrant-y? Like men, women, young, old. It's a 4-quad movie, like a Marvel movie is that.
Yes.
UFC is a 2-quad thing, max. Like, I don't know, like you still kind of watch UFC?
I do kind of, but I've faded. But I'll be back now that it's on Paramount.
Does your wife like despise it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never met a woman that doesn't think it's like the worst hobby for a guy to have is like gambling, like a porn addiction. I got in the video flag just saying that. Sorry. or like watching UFC. So like as a TKO thing, like WWE's been a little bit more available for like people to watch. And not that he's like a total cancer on that whole theory, but Brock is more of that than he's not. Of like if there's like one Wall Street Journal article to like remind everybody and that gets out and becomes a big thing, that's a huge problem. Like a more of a ticking time bomb. And again, not named in the lawsuit by name. Obviously alleged in there. They're just like juice is not worth the squeeze is what you and I are both trying to say.
Yeah.
Also, one thing, I'm sorry, Andrew is rage baiting me. Can you pop up his thing about Swerve and Hangman? It's a couple up there. I can pop it up.
Read it.
Yeah. Sage should have Hangman and Swerve, but never tried to see that match either. I think this is in reference to Cena and Brock Lesnar as a classic feud, quote unquote. And I would just say, like, I'm correct and you're incorrect that, Andrew, that like Cena and Brock Lesnar is nobody's top 100 feud of all time. As like it's like a miserable feud that is total garbage and sucks. And Hangman and Swerve is a pretty good iconic feud. So sorry, I'm not trying to pinpoint you here. I just like it's more like I think the Cena Brock Lesnar thing. Like, what is it besides the elbow, like stoppage? And that was him and Orton. So he came back when he first came back and he beat Cena pretty quickly, right? Is this like 2014, 2013?
In 2014, he beat, like, he was in the main event against Roman Reigns. Or no, that was 2014. So so the same year that he beat the Undertaker's streak, he beat John Cena in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, the best match they've had Seth Rollins in going for that title at Royal Rumble. So I'm just surprised by the nostalgia for this as a feud. But
yeah, I'm with you on this one. Andrew, I mean, look, everybody's going to feel differently about different feuds. I get that. But I don't think Cena and Brock is something that I just don't think it's something that people are pining for. At the very least, or at best, it's just something we've seen a lot of, you know, like,
but like just like to be like both sides of here, like pound for pound, like Roman and Cody, Cena and CM Punk, all better than Hangman Swerve in like the historical standpoint. Give me some other WWEs that are pretty obvious, like Triple H and Undertaker. That's like a more historic feud between them. So not like just being like a, Okada and Kenny in New Japan is way more iconic than Hangman and Swerve. Rock and Austin, way more. I mean, these are big, big time things, but like, it's just like that. What I'm trying to get at is like that Brock Cena thing doesn't even register on the like top 15 Cena opponents for me personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, look, most of Cena's run is without Brock there. Like, for real, like, Cena was a really popular act in that company because Brock Lesnar left because he wasn't there. This is great stuff, guys. I mean, this is debating this kind of thing is why this show is fun. And, it goes without saying that we want to be and stay respectful of everybody's opinion on here and argue and discuss. And that's what makes the show good. But I appreciate everybody, keeping a sound head as we do this, because it makes it way more fun. With that said, I'm going to rag on you a bit, Andrew, here too. Andrew says here, it's not 1997. Money matters, not ratings. And I would just say, dude, the TV deals and the licensing and the viewership on WWE products and television is like a major chunk. More than half of their revenue is in deals like that because of people watching. So they matter a lot. And, like, there's context around ratings and numbers, any data, there's context around it. But money matters. And for money to matter, ratings has to matter too. So they don't matter in the same way that they do in 1997, but man, dude, they matter. They're driving a ton of revenue for not just WWE, but for TKO as well. So I would disagree with you on that point.
Just real quick, do you believe that like Dynamite gets like 1.5 million people with the Max streaming thing weekly?
No.
Okay. I don't either. If you did, then I think Andrew's argument is way more. I'd be way more on Andrew's side than yours. I'm kind of in the middle of both of you on that. But like, if Dynamite was getting 1.5 million people, then that would prove like that rating doesn't really help to promote a lot of financial gain.
Sure.
For them. So,
but yeah, I guess that's true. But I really genuinely don't think. I agree. I agree. Problem done. You can't just slap on another 500,000 people. Like,
yeah, it's probably around 900,000 a million people are watching Dynamite weekly, whether live or post.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. This has been a great discussion, you guys. We'll probably pick this up on the member side of things a little bit later this week and talk more about it. Talk a little bit about how UFC factors into this because they signed a massive deal as well, a 7-year deal worth $1 billion a year. So they're in the same game, they're rolling in it, and I think they're facing some of the same issues in terms of like. They have to run shows all the time, which means you water down your shows. I mean, that's just flat out the name of the beast. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll hit this topic again for our members and maybe even a little bit more when we talk on Thursday with AEW as our focus. You guys are the best. Thanks so much for the great conversation. Thank you to our gold members, Sean Palikta and Adam Kidd. Thanks to everybody else who joined, E and Andrew, of course, and Joshua and Mike, and just everybody else, including Wyatt and Ezra and Eliana and some of the other newbies that joined us. We appreciate it. We're here live every single Tuesday night, and join us. Make us a part of your wrestling. Make us part of your wrestling week, and become a member. Try us out. Patreon.com/BrassRingMedia is how you can do that, and we offer some really great bonus content for our members. Including SummerSlam review shows from last week, and also just other types of shows. I do have a couple G1 shows up there. I've been higher on the G1 than some others this year. I think it's been a fun watch if you're watching. There's nothing there that you have to go out of your way to watch. But if you decided to watch, you've seen some pretty decent matches. But more on that for
this is just a real question to finish it off. I'm serious when I ask this. Is Zack Sabre Jr. the champion right now?
He is.
Okay. Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, I keep my cred. Okay.
Keep my cred. Oh my God. Yeah, he is. And he's had some really some solid matches in G1.
He took it off of.
Care to wager a guess?
Were they Japanese?
Yes.
Have they been champion before? Oh.
No.
Goto?
Hiroki Goto. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Let's go.
Yep.
All right.
I had a lot to say about the G1. You can check it out. We got a member show about that. So yeah, check it out. Patreon.com/BrassRingMedia. We got some members here saying, become a member. Sean says, appreciate you guys. Become a member. Adam Kidd says, join. And you should give it a go. We'd appreciate it. We appreciate your support, and we'll do and we'll continue to do all we can to give you guys the most value possible for that $4 a month. So thank you. Talk to you guys all on Thursday afternoon right here on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. See ya.